I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you today. I First of all, I've started referring to this as the new abnormal because trying to meet people through this type of platform, trying to interview people through this type of platform is not comfortable for anyone. And I think that's the first thing that you have to get beyond, is that it's okay to feel a little nervous, a little weird, a little uncomfortable, because usually when we're meeting people, we meet them in person, we get a little bit of that little things like, the facial expressions and the body language a lot better than you are over this type of platform. But I think first thing you need to do is recognize that in probably 99% of the cases when you're doing interviews through this, the people on the other end are going through the same thing. They're feeling a little uncomfortable with it. Don't be too concerned. You want to get yourself into a private space as much as possible and try to minimize the background noise, but things happen. I've had everything now from barking dogs in the middle of an interview to babies crying and having to be brought onto the screen while somebody's consoling their baby because it's a single person at home, and so they're bouncing their baby on the knee while they're doing the interview questions, and they did very well. They continue to apologize, and we're all very understanding of the craziness that we're all going through. So, as much as I say, try to minimize those types of distractions, we know they happen. When you're doing interviews online, dress up just the same way as you would dress up if you're going to an interview. Now, keep in mind that most of the time they're seeing you basically from here up. So, if you're wearing a pair of shorts and a dress shirt and a tie, or a really nice blouse and some pajama bottoms or something like that, just make sure if you're doing that, don't stand up during the interview. I've had somebody do that where they had sweatpants on. They looked really good up here, and then they got up to adjust themselves a little bit. They have the sweatpants on. So, trying to maintain that professional image. You're coming out of university, you're going into professional type of environment in most cases. So make sure that you're dressed for it. If you're wondering whether you should be wearing a tie or whether you should be wearing a dress or how to dress up, you're always better off to overdress a little bit than you are to underdress. So, if I show up in the interview and I've actually got a tie and a jacket on as your interviewer and you don't, then you may have failed their expectations a little bit. Now, having said that, a lot of workplaces are a little bit more casual, no more ties, no more jackets. But like I say, err on the side of caution and make sure that if anything, you're a little overdressed for it. You don't have to have the ball gown, you don't have to have the tuxedo. That's going a little overboard, but make sure that you're looking good for it. Make sure that you've got a good connection as much as possible. When you start out the interview, you want to make sure that you do have the screen on. And if you're having problems with connection, you may ask if it's okay if you turn off the video so that you can get better streaming. But if you can, try to get yourself into a place where you've got a good Wi-Fi connection so that you're not running into that as well. Be prepared. And this is for any kind of interview. Be prepared for tough questions. Be prepared, first of all, when you make up your resume and you send it into them, make sure that your resume reflects the position that you're applying for. So, if the only experience that you've had is working at McDonald's, flipping burgers, take the experience that you have there and apply those skills that you've learned to the position. So if it is going into a marketing position, you work well under pressure. If you've ever worked at McDonald's and you've worked during a lunchtime or a dinner time rush, you work well under pressure. You take direction well. You may be somebody that has shown some leadership skills. Make sure that you're reflecting that, but also make sure that you're willing and able to talk about that during the interview as well. So, when somebody says, well, I see the only experience you have is working at McDonald's, you can say, yeah, but I was working at the front counter. I was dealing with client concerns. I was, upselling people. I was dealing with this, that, and the other thing, you know, and worked through the rush periods and was able to manage everything and keep everything looking good. Those are the skills that you've learned, okay? And I use McDonald's as a simple example. It could be anything that you've done, you know, even if you've been working on the farm or working in one of your parents' office environments or working at their shop or whatever. Just think about what those skills are that you've learned and what those skills are you're going to be able to take forward. And make sure that you're able to clearly talk about that during the interview. Because you know what, your resume is going to tell them a little bit. And you can usually go into an interview thinking that, you know, your resume has obviously done a good enough job to get you a face-to-face meeting with somebody. At that point, it's really your position to lose, not your position to gain, okay? They're already thinking that you'd be a good fit, so make sure that you're talking about that. One of the other things is make sure you do your homework. I'm still surprised at how many people I can get into an interview with and they don't know much about the company. And you know what? We've got a website. We've got a ton of information on the website. And if they're talking about things that make it clear that they have no idea what we do or who we are, you know, short of me calling Tatiana 5 minutes after I receive her resume and not giving her time to prepare, you know, I think you should have a little bit of background information and understand what the company does. It's okay to ask more in-depth kind of questions about culture and, you know, what's the work environment going to be like, things that aren't going to show up on a website. But make sure you at least understand if you're applying to a marketing firm that they do marketing and what kind of clients they have. Or if you're applying to an engineering firm that they do engineering, what kind of engineering they do, what kind of clients they have. Because that goes a long way. If you haven't done the research, it will really quickly end the interview, at least in the hiring manager's mind. They may not cut it short, but in their mind, they've already made a decision pretty quickly. The other one is keep track of where you're applying to. Especially recently, I've been reaching out to people that sent in an application, sent in a resume to me, and they're like, who is this? What company? What's the position? Like they didn't even know where they had applied to. So, you know, kind of keep that information handy because you could get a phone call at any time. So you want to be able to speak to the fact that you know who the company is at least, and thank them for reaching out to you and know a little bit about the position. So that when they're asking you questions, because a lot of time they're going to do a quick screening call with you just to, you know, find out that you've got some of the basic things that they're looking for and find out that your expectations are where they should be before they set up a formal interview with you. So I think that that covers most of what I wanted to go through. And I know I've probably covered a lot of information there, but I'm hoping at the very least I've covered enough information to put some questions into your minds.